All right, run the North with Jason and Will. Week 18. Is this what it feels like to be a Bears fan, Jason? That was one demoralizing loss. That was. They were who we thought they were, truly, the Vikings. But before we get into that heartbreaker against the Lions, let's talk the Bears and the Packers. You knocked off the Packers, so hey, way to go, FTP. I didn't watch the game. I saw some of the highlights. I saw some news. Did Jordan Love get injured and Malik get injured?
Yes.
What are the extent of these injuries? Like, are they just totally effed in the playoffs now?
No. They'll be fine. So I don't know. I was at a baptism, and then I was at the baptism reception with some family friends, and so I was kind of watching and trying to entertain and da. But so Jordan Love banged his hand, I think,
on a helmet or something.
But on a helmet or something. So they took him out precautionarily, and then they put Malik Willis in, who got absolutely just
drilled. I saw that
murdered.
Play.
Death on a stick. Like it was and it was so clean and so satisfying. So LaFleur said he took him out precautionarily. Like, we're just not gonna mess with this. So unfortunately, nothing to worry about there. Not that I'm rooting for guys to get hurt, but it is the Packers. It's the only team I'll make an exception for. Yeah, it was a weird one. Like, we had to pull out all the stops to win this one. Like, the trickeration punt return was sweet. Like,
that was
you get
cool.
Everybody coming down to the left where the guy, the gunners drop it back right here. Everyone sets up the wall because they think that's getting punt returned here. That was pretty cool. Keenan Allen threw a pick. Otherwise, a pretty pathetic game by him.
That game, you could just tell in his head, he just like, F it. Like, I just don't care. He was playing like it meant nothing. He did not care at all what happened to that ball when it left his hand. He's like, dude, this season's over. I'm just going to chuck this thing.
Well, and the thing that killed me, that's fine. Okay, like, that happens. I get that. The part that I'm not fine with is when they threw the ball. Like, the guy's returning the pick, and he just kind of puts his head down and puts his hands on the warmers and starts walking off the field while the play is going. I'm like,
I didn't see that part.
You are not getting re-signed to this team. Like, there's no way we're going to pay you $15, $20 million to come do that. Like, you can't.
He was just on a 1 year, right? A 1 year deal?
Well, he was on the last year of his contract, so he was a 1 year rental.
I see.
He came out and said last week that he wants to either come back to Chicago or the Chargers to finish his career, but not for that price ticket, because he was 24 mil this year. So you can't do that.
Yeah.
But for the rest of the game, I mean, we used both running backs for the first time in a while, which, hey, you're supposed to.
Yeah, it looked like you guys were running the ball decently.
Yeah, not like they stuck to it more. It wasn't that effective, but they stuck to it more. They still refuse to throw to the tight end, which is the most detrimental part of the entire offensive scheme. Like, you should be throwing to the tight end and over the middle. Like, that's in this day and age where you're not allowed to touch anybody over the middle, so you might as well throw it to them. And that's where we saw the first half of the year. It was the best, most effective part of our offense. So we had that. What was really cool too, I think I texted this to you, is or maybe it's my dad, I don't know. Caleb is the first quarterback to finish a full season, playing all games in a season since 2009.
For the Bears?
For the Bears.
Since 2009?
That's how bad that is. He's the first one to throw 20 touchdowns since 2001. Also wild. So, yeah. So you
just
guys make mind-blowing
figures.
But no, it's even worse than that. So we also had the league most 27 different offensive line combinations this year, which is absurd. Like, you should have ideally one.
Yeah.
All 5 starters play all year. Not going to happen. Maybe you have 4 or 5 because you got a couple of different injuries here and there for a few games. Fine. But yeah, 27 led the league for sure. I mean, Caleb hit so many marks on so many different things just for the Bears, not rookies, but Bears rookies and Bears overall quarterbacking this year. Pretty incredible. And there was still so much meat left on that bone, you know?
Right.
So yeah, that was, there's a point, I was kind of saying this early in the year, and like this is kind of my final thought and resounding thought as we kick into the offseason. Like, losing is a disease, and we know that because we've had our second 10-plus game losing streak. And, you know, for those who are so excited about get the pick, like, get a bigger pick, you might as well just lose. It's like, I understand the logic, but that's not football. That's video games. Like
Yeah.
you have to get a win. Like, and the fact that they beat the Packers in Lambeau last game of the year to get to end the slide is sweet. So Caleb is undefeated at Lambeau. Caleb is undefeated, and so are the Bears undefeated in 2025, and that's kind of the way you got to look at it, which is super homer, super meatball. I got it. But the difference between a pick 5, which they needed a bunch of help in, they were the 9th pick coming into the game. Had they won, they probably could have got to 8 because they needed the Jets and the Panthers. Jets to win, Panthers to lose, Saints to lose, or win, but the Saints, something like that. So we went from 9 to 10, like one slot, not a big deal. And for the fact that I can't say F the Packers because they have bent us over and effed us so many years in a row. I just gotta say, go Bears. We are so not. We're not allowed to say that anymore.
Well, yeah, I mean, what the Packers had won like 11 times in a row. Is that right?
Yeah, there are some guys on this roster that were drafted, like so Cole Kmet and Jalen Johnson had not beaten the Packers before. This is their 4th year in the league.
Wild.
So, I mean, yeah, it feels good. The one thing that feels the greatest, so we're talking about, run the North. And as we segue into your guys' game, Vikings Lions, which was the first time we've had 2 14-win teams. They were undefeated in the division and then 1 loss in the division. The Bears and the the Bears and the Packers were both 1-5 in our division this year. Think about that. Pretty wild, huh?
Yeah.
So for the 7 seed to be 11, 12, and 5, all 5 losses were division games.
Crazy.
Or maybe this was their 6th loss now to us. So 5 of the 6. That just goes to show how strong and how crazy it is to be in this division. And it's going to be because you got young quarterbacks, young coaches, decent cap scenarios for all of those teams for the next 3-4 years are going to be similar. Right? I mean, this is going to be a fluke year because they're not going to have 14-win teams, but man, like it was so exciting a year ago as we're starting this season, like with Caleb and the offensive weapons and this and that. It's like, whoa, that's still to be the jockstrap holding bottom feeder. Best case scenario, we still had 8 wins and we're still the worst in the league. And maybe that's 1 less, so it's 13, 13, and 10 above us. It's like, oh my gosh. So my 3-word is not anything. I was gonna say F the Packers, but I can't do that as I'm talking myself through that.
I'll allow it.
Yeah, but on on the other side, I'm just gonna say learn to win. Honestly, because we're starting over. We have got a couple of core guys. I like our core, 7-8 guys that are on extended contracts. And like the youthful core here, but there's so much work to do.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, it's going to be so typical Bears with this hiring cycle that you got Vrabel, Johnson, Flores. Okay, that's like your first tier. Peterson just got fired. McCarthy might get fired. Like, we don't know. And then after that, who knows? And the way that we go about our business, our extensive, thorough process, we're going to end up with like the 5th out of 8 teams. We're going to have like the 5th or 6th best coach. Like, it's the way we do things. And they're going to be like, oh, well, this is a leader of men. This guy really has accolades. We're so proud. Da, da, da. And we're just be like, why even? I'm not even going to watch next year if that's the case,
Yikes. Well, yeah, your guy Vrabel, it sounds like you might be the front runner for the Patriots job, which I figured you'd be quite sad to see.
Very sad. And that's something too, is like they've hired Mayo. Again, this is a guy that they had a in writing plan that he was going to be the successor to Belichick. So Kraft
1 season.
Fired him an hour, didn't even let him out of the building. Fired him an hour after the game. Didn't even let him go home.
A game which they won, no less.
Which is probably why he got fired.
Maybe.
I'll be honest with you, because they could have had the number 1 pick, maybe the number 2 pick, but now that's to the Titans and like the Browns, maybe. So yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, enough of the sorrow, enough of the misery. Unless you got any questions, let's talk about some good football, huh?
Well, did you have another game in mind besides Vikings and the Lions? Because that was fucking dreadful for the combined 8 quarters.
For the first half. Good for the first half.
Oh man. Let's start off with a knee-jerk reaction here, which is
sure.
just oh my god, is this what we're going to see in the playoffs? I just feel like round one in the playoffs we're going to get a repeat of what we just saw.
Really? Okay.
Well, it's just so typical Vikings. It's kind of what you suspected, you were scared of with Sam Darnold, where as soon as we needed him, like when we needed him most, not only did he not show up, he showed up and collapsed and was just sitting in a pile of his own refuse. He just looked terrible from the jump. Like it. And I texted you this at the beginning of the game. I said all these players look so tense and so nervous, and Darnold just couldn't get over it. I think, if I'm putting on like my psychologist hat, what I saw was a quarterback that was too afraid to throw an interception. I think KOC all week probably preached that, hey, to beat these guys, we have to win the turnover battle. Sam, you got to protect that football. It seemed like he was trying too hard to put it out of reach of defenders, and as a result, he was putting it out of reach of his own receivers. That's what it seemed like to me. Also missing a ton of reads that people, the day after are pointing out things I saw live on all these. Well, we had 8 attempts within the 5-yard line.
2 for 10 in the red zone.
Absolutely atrocious.
2 for 10 passing.
And you see guys coming wide open, and there's just no anticipation by Sam. And he's looking like the Sam Darnold from the Jets when he was seeing ghosts. It's like, yeah, he's just not seeing the field at all. Not only is he not seeing the field, the throws just weren't accurate at all. And you're hoping he's going to kind of shake it off, and he just never did. And he looked very rough, very, very rough. He might have just caused himself
a lot of man coverage yesterday. A lot of man coverage.
Yeah, which is bold and shocking. We couldn't beat it, but
and it worked because you're on your 5th and 6th corners. Like that was the Robertson kid had a great game for the most part, which is wild against JJ.
Yeah, it was a pretty depressing thing to watch. Defense showed up until the Lions ended up doing what the Lions do, and they break the game open.
The attrition set in, right?
Exactly. Yeah. When the defense just doesn't have any hope and they're gassed, they're not seeing their offense do anything with all these turnovers they're creating. It's like, yeah, then the floodgates open where it's like, damn, the offense is not going to bail us out of this one. It was probably the worst loss of the season for us. We ended the season on an extremely low note, which I guess is what happens when you end the season on such a high leverage game like this was. But it was not great to watch as a Vikings fan. What did you see?
Well, I saw pretty much what I was texting you during the game too, is run the ball and they'll be fine. And unfortunately, they got a little bit too cute in the red zone. Like I said, 2 for 10. Short yardage stuff. Like you don't really have a power back. You have like Aaron Jones and Aaron Jones light with Akers. It's getting more popular again to have the thunder and lightning type, like the Lions have, and everyone's like, "Oh, Sonic and Knuckles." Da, da, da. I was like, yeah, I mean that's ideally what you want, but I would have liked to see you guys try and run a couple more of those balls if you're going to go for it late, just because it's more of the character side of football than the strategy side of football. It's more like, fuck you, I'm going to rip down your throat. And this is who we are. And we're going to like impose our will. And we need this. It's like the stuff that, not to rub it in your face, but it's the stuff that Campbell does for 4-1. Like
he's the best in the league at it, outside of maybe the Eagles.
And that's kind of where you get calloused and hard. And that's where you pause. That's where you get that type of character building and the confidence, so that maybe they're not as tense like that. So, I saw on defense, Van Giegel decapitated a guy. That was I wish you just hit him harder. I wish you would have taken him out of the game. Might have been a completely different game. Oh yeah, at that point he already had 2 touchdowns, so half of his touchdowns still. But a 4-touchdown game for Jahmyr Gibbs is wild.
Nuts.
And Goff played like shit the first half. Like he had 2 picks, 100 yards. I mean, that was Goff, a good team win on their part. So
yeah, Goff at least woke up and figured it out.
Yeah.
Which I was hoping Sam Darnold, like Goff did what I was hoping Sam Darnold was going to do, which is just like get out of his own way, get out of his own head, and just figure it out in the second half. And Darnold never found the keys to that car.
So there's a part of this game too that's interesting in that I keep coming back to the red zone stuff because obviously that's where the money is made. And you look at a couple of those plays, especially like in the middle of the second, third quarter time. He had two plays to JJ that were open and designed well. They were just
Yes.
off by half a tick. So I know it's frustrating to get it here, but it didn't need to count. It's there and they can do it. Just take a little bit of that juice off because this really was a playoff game, right? You could feel that
Yeah.
energy, that
Oh
tension, just
yeah.
like you brought up. So schematically, it's there. You can say that's frustrating because you didn't execute, but it's like it's there. It's not like you're sitting there like, what do we do? Which as a Bears fan, it's like, oh, who knows, right? But there was a couple too. Like there was they did a quick trips right exit motion at I think it's like the 6-yard line.
Yeah.
They exited the wide right guy, which was Addison, a couple of feet out,
And they
and they
had
basically
that
cleared
little rub route.
yeah, the two slots went out wide and he came underneath. That was so there. That's one where Kelsey almost punched a hole through the
Yeah,
couch.
everyone saw it. We're like, why didn't you? Like, it looked like that was the exact design of the play. Darnold's looking right at it.
Right.
And he pulls the ball
there because I had to I thank God for streaming TV. I replayed it 4 or 5 different times. I looked at every aspect of that play. Like, well, maybe he had a guy in his face. Maybe the window closed. Maybe there was a robber that I didn't see just because it's not the all 22. It's the the broadcast
standard
version.
broadcast. Yeah.
No. That one was inarguably bad. So that sucks. But again, if you're going to do that now at that, so what was that? That was 2 of 6, 2 of 7 at that point. He's got the yips. Then you have to run the ball.
Yeah.
You have to if you're going to make it 4 downs, you have to run the ball on 3rd down. I don't know. I don't care what you're doing. You don't need to throw 13 times, right?
Well, and I'll pause you right there because that was another thing I was going to say is I think what KOC is thinking in that moment is he's made a big point all year of standing by Sam Darnold through the ups and the downs. And I think that was his way of being like, hey, I know you can do this. Just like we're going to keep doing it because you're going to do it. And then he just never effing did it. And then in retrospect, Kevin O'Connell's like, wow, I look like a jackass. Like I had too much faith in this guy. Like I just needed him to complete like 25% of those throws of like the 10 throws or the 8 throws, whatever they were. But because to your point, they should have been running the ball. Why weren't they? If you're going for it on 4th, you got to run it at least one time.
And that's the stuff that like even Bears would get crucified for because it doesn't seem like you have a plan. But he did because you could see he had really well-designed concepts. One thing I thought was, well, 2 things I thought was interesting from the broadcast is they're saying, well, everything Aaron Glenn's doing, he's throwing man when the OC's looking for zone and vice versa. So he's got that number. I didn't really see that, but I can see, what that would mean to the normal viewer. So we'll have to see if I had time to go watch that back, if that was true. But the one thing I definitely agreed with the broadcast was every time there was pressure on Darnold, I'm like, who is that guy? Like, who is that? And it's like, they're getting pressure from nobodies. I've never heard of these guys. So like, kudos to them for playing up to that. Now, I know that's a couple of things you don't want to hear. The one thing I will take to flip on that edge, some of these injuries aren't going to get healthy in a week or 2 weeks, right? So they're still going to be down when you guys play them in the second round.
Yeah.
Okay. It is statistically incredibly difficult to beat a team 3 times in a row.
I love the sound of that.
In one season. So you do have that going for you. I know it's like a hyperbole and just kind of something nice, but it psychologically, I mean, you've played your best. You've like all the stop shot, each other well enough, especially for this year. I mean, you could call on years past because it's a division rival. I got that. That's also why it's harder. But I find that very interesting. So I want to ask you this. Now, we've talked a little bit about individual talent. What would you have done if you were just kind of coaching this game from the Vikings perspective? What would you have done a little bit differently, either from an approach or an adjustment? I mean, I said run the ball. Was there a speech you want to give them or a schematic difference or like what's going through your head as you're sitting on the couch? This like it can't just be this just ain't working. Like what were you seeing that you think would work?
Yeah, I mean, I think the obvious one is run the ball more. And I think one thing that Darnold never got was into a rhythm. And I think they're just like, you got to do more quick routes. Like, I don't think we ran a single slant. Well, I don't know why. We, like, never run slants. It seems like just a quick one hitch, go. I think generally just kind of reading the Mike linebacker and seeing if he's going to drop down or go deep and hit the guy that he's
which is super interesting because that rub route we talked about in the end zone, the two went and Addison,
Yeah.
that was a slant route. And then it might have been the play before that, a play after. The one in that same corner of the end zone, he overthrew it over JJ's head. It was a sluggo. So it was a slant and then go
Mm.
on a double route. I was like, well, he didn't even have to bite. He just overthrew it. I was like, wow, very interesting.
Yeah. So I think outside of establishing the run, I think they had to do a better job of getting him in rhythm. Granted, I say that, but then I also remember at a couple points in the game being like, oh my God, they can't get more than like 3 yards at a time throwing the ball. So I guess maybe that was KOC trying to get him into a rhythm. I mean, honestly, you think about yanking Darnold when we're down 2 scores or something, and you throw Nick Mullins in there because I think it was just I know you can in the long term.
Nicky don't have the game in him, no way.
Yeah, he does. I mean, he'll sling it. He'll sling it, but like Darnold was the critical failure. Like that is why the offense didn't work. It's because he couldn't throw the ball well. I think if that's the Super Bowl, if that's the end of the season, the last game of the season, I think you got to take Darnold out because he looked terrible and you could tell the pressure had got to him. Like it's like he had his blinders on and just like everyone's saying, lights seem to be too bright for him. Which did you see that in the postgame presser everything was dimmed on KOC?
They do that sometimes. It depends on what location and like how far after when they do the post game. It is a strange deal though.
Yeah, well, yeah. So there was some tweet that was making a joke of it, like lights were too bright for him, so they had to turn him down in the post game press conference.
Oh, brutal.
Yeah.
And one thing I will say is because I'm pretty impressed, like as the body of work as a whole for his season, is that there were more than a couple of iffy favorable calls for Detroit. Like the Anzalone one, he hits Hawkinson's front arm before it even gets to him, and then he's already hugging him. It's like that was a crucial conversion that could have at least kept the momentum. After that, momentum was kind of lost. A couple of them in the end zone. Let them play, don't let them play. I get that, but when you look back at the whole game, it was like, wow, they were way more handsy than the Vikings guys were. Yeah. So I don't know if that's just bad refereeing or they were just going to let them play.
Well, you're not even bringing up the biggest call. I hadn't even thought, like, I didn't even bring this up that yet, but you're leaving out the biggest call of them all, or non-call.
Which one? Yeah.
The non-intentional grounding in their own end zone when Jared Goff is getting sacked and throws the ball into his lineman. And
there were 2 guys there though. The tight end.
Are they eligible? Were they even eligible receivers?
Doesn't matter. Yeah, they're technically eligible. They don't have to be on a route to be eligible.
I don't care. It was still stupid and it was dumb, and they should have given us a safety. I was not happy about that.
I see where you're at from the momentum of that standpoint, though, for sure. And you know what? Another thing I thought was interesting, and this could be just me kind of wishful thinking and also overthinking, is I thought for sure we would see some sort of schoolyard bullshit from both teams, just throwing in a trick player here and there. Not that they're going to burn it for later in the season, but to put something on tape to just be like, have them thinking over here. So when they get to the playoffs or see them a third time, the trick play they actually use is over there. I thought for sure we'd see 1 or 2 from each team again.
Yeah, you beat me to the punch there because I was also going to call out there was no cutesy shit. There was none from either team, which is shocking. I don't know that I've ever seen a Lions game without a freaking lineman catching or receiving or catching or throwing a pass or running the ball or something.
And I could see that too. Like I'm surprised because we were talking about earlier. It's like if you know you're going for it, 4th down, and it's 1st down, like you can get creative a little bit and then pound the ball when it's not working. But I just figured they'd show something, especially the Vikings, because you have all these guys that are not 3rd, 4th, 5th stringers, guys we've never heard of, guys that were working at Walmart last week, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. On the brighter side of things, defense looked good for 3-ish quarters. Van Ginkel absolutely murdered Jahmyr Gibbs. I am shocked that he kept playing after that. Like I said, I wish he did not keep playing. But he got his bell rung. Which hit do you think was better, the Van Ginkel on Jahmyr Gibbs or whoever your guy was that smacked Malik Willis?
Kevin Byard safety hit Malik Willis. I have to go with mine just because it was the Bears Packers. So
yeah. Which, like, how does Malik Willis not see? Like, he must have zero peripheral vision. Because, like, I don't think it was.
And no time on 10s.
Yeah, I guess.
Part of it too, and this is something I'm not familiar enough because I don't watch enough Packers games, and I definitely didn't watch at the beginning of the year when Blake Willis played. I don't know who's making the line calls because like that's the biggest thing when we talk about Caleb and Jay Daniels
mhm.
is that the Commanders have the center making the slide protection and the line calls. The Bears have the quarterback doing it. So I don't know. I'm assuming Julian Love is doing that, but I don't know about the backup who's only third year in the league. I don't know
That's a
about
good
that,
point.
especially half of the year in a system. So that's it's not so much peripherals. It's just like I'm not expecting it because it should be taken care of because I trust my guys to either call it out beforehand or
Protect my
rocket,
ass.
rocket, fire, fire, fire. Like get the ball out right now because if you get an Olay, shit there. It's like the lineman's gonna let you know. So he must have just had too much trust in that, assuming he wasn't making that slide protection.
Mhm.
But again, it's not like me to want to bail out a Packer. So
Yeah. But yeah, outside Van Gink, your guy 44 showing up again, getting that batted ball that turned into an interception.
big tip.
Yeah, 44 always showing up on those plays. Man, I'm trying to think if there's anything else notable from the defensive side of things. I feel like we kind of exhausted the offense, but I'll leave it with my 3 words here. Going back to Sam Darnold, 3 words are going to be pump the brakes. As in pump the brakes on Sam Darnold. Last a week ago,
Okay.
seems like so long ago, everyone's saying, hey, we got to lock this dude up to a long-term deal. And I said in our podcast last week, I said people are very emotional and have very short memories. Like earlier in the season, I don't know that he was playing this bad, but he had some rough games, and we only got to this record because of the defense. If our defense was middling, or God forbid our defense was bad, we probably have the same record as the Bears. Like the defense arguably won us more games than the offense did this year. So I'd say pump the brakes on Sam Darnold. I think at this point, best move is to like franchise tag him and trade him. I again don't know how that works. It sounds like kind of dicks over the player a little bit, but like I'd say try to get some value out of Sam Darnold, and then hey, you know what? JJ McCarthy's not ready next year, let's do it all again with Daniel Jones. Let's just keep churning out these island of misfit QBs.
There's a clicker for you.
Yeah. Maybe that's Kevin or Kwesi's strategy for recomping some of those draft picks. Is just like, hey, we're gonna refurbish quarterbacks and resell them for draft picks. Like that's gonna be our like draft equity strategy. Probably not the case, but I mean, wouldn't be the worst idea.
If you let Darnold walk without trading him, you'll get comp picks for that too. So
how does that work?
So it's 2 different things. One, it is the person that leaves. It depends on what tier, meaning the dollar amount the contract that they sign with the new team is for. But then the second thing is that first part is weighed against the players and dollars that you sign. So if like one guy signs for 3 years, $50 million, I can't, if I sign a guy to a similar contract, it's a push and no comp picks. But if he goes for 3 and 50 and I signed his replacement for 1 for 5, I think there's something in the formula. I think it's not just a 1-to-1 player for player. I think it's player and player, dollar and dollar comps. Something
interesting. Like yeah, I don't know the specifics
the best
of how that works.
Is just the highest one you can get is a 3rd round pick.
Oh,
about anything. Most common, you'll get like a 5th, a 6th, or some 7ths.
So do these draft picks just poof come out of thin air?
Yes.
Oh,
correct.
So what if you already have
draft picks in this minute?
So if you already have a 5th round pick and you get a 5th round pick from what do we even call this process?
It
comp
gets
picks?
tacked on to the end of the round.
Okay, you knew where I was going with that question.
So the 33rd pick of the 3rd round is the first comp pick, and then it's in order of like draft order, like normal assignment, right?
Sure.
And then there's usually 3 or 4. You typically aren't going to get a player comp pick for a 3rd round. Typically, you'll see that if you lose an executive or a coach, because like if our assistant GM gets signed to the head GM role somewhere else, the Bears will get 2 third-round picks the following offseason.
Really?
Same thing will happen for a head coaching position if you don't fire him.
I had no idea that also existed for personnel.
Absolutely. Well, no, it's just head coaches and those who get promoted to GM. It's just those two. Like if you lost an OC or an assistant, it doesn't none of that off the table.
Gotcha.
The only way I think you'd hit a third rounder for a player comp for a comp pick would be like if you somehow like lost Patrick Mahomes and didn't sign a quarterback of similar value.
Sure.
Like it'd have to be such an astronomical difference in your roster to get a third, because usually it's you see 3 or 4 thirds. I think what San Francisco got like 3 thirds last year in comp picks for similar reasons. They lost because Rand Carthon left to become the Titans GM. That's how they got 2, and then the third one was I don't even. It was Hargrave. The D tackle left, and that was $100 million, maybe it was $80 million. It was a big contract that he signed that they didn't replace.
Wow.
So okay. Yeah, it's got to be big money moving, and that's something you won't know that. So middle of March, like the week before St. Patrick's Day is when free agency starts, so we won't know till like draft time, and any comp picks that we get this offseason won't be for this draft. It'll be for the 2026 draft. So don't get too excited.
Okay, well, going deeper down the rabbit hole here, how does a franchise tag work then?
So franchise tag, every team has one franchise tag, and you can use it on any position you want, and it's every year. It does screw the player, and what it is effectively, it is a 1-year deal, and I'm going to pay you. You're my guy for 1 more year. I'm not extending you. It's just this next year's contract. But the rules for the compensation are, so say you're a quarterback. We use Darnold for the example. I have to pay you the average of the top 5 salaries at your position. So Dak is 60, then 50, 50, 50, 40. So that's ends up about $50 million.
That doesn't sound like a bad deal for, like, say, Sam Darnold, because he's not getting top 5 money if we.
It's a franchise tag is exclusively a team-friendly option. The other benefit to it is I can sign you to the franchise tag while continuing to negotiate that extension. So there's a potential that you sign the franchise, you're not happy about it. We can keep negotiating. It extends the negotiating window before the season starts to where you could hammer out that extension, and then that franchise tag is no longer applied to your pay schedule. Or you can use that as leverage to sign and trade to another team. Kind of like what you suggested, a lot of what we expected to hear from T. Higgins this last offseason. That's interesting. So now the other part of it is the team also has a transition tag. A transition tag's a little bit different, and that's what the Ravens put on Lamar Jackson a couple years ago before he signed his extension. And I don't remember that exactly, but I'm going to try it out here quick. Very similar to the franchise tag. We have 1 year of control. We have a chance to continue to negotiate. You're going to get but instead of getting paid the top 5 average, you kind of get an offer sheet in it where you can go look and negotiate with other teams. So basically the other teams are going to structure the deal, and I have a first right of refusal to match that structure. The Bears did that a couple years ago. Well, more than about 10 years ago. Kyle Fuller was a corner. He had a transition tag placed on it by us. The Packers wanted to sign him away. They structured the deal. We said, no, we're going to match that. So either way, the transition tag, if you structure that where a different team comes in and submits an offer sheet and you accept, what you get is like 2 first-round picks from them, or you get some sort of predefined pick from them that's not what you've negotiated with them. It's a rule of the transition tag. So you get to sign this guy for a bunch of money, but I get the appropriate picks, which is a high pick. So why you would use it on anything other than a quarterback, I don't know.
Okay.
But also very team-friendly.
Interesting. Learned a lot.
But that's more for the offseason. Let's talk more playoffs here.
Yeah. So I forgot if I said this already. Interesting thing about the playoffs. Vikings start with the Rams. If they win, they go to Detroit. They play the only 2 teams they lost to in the regular season in the playoffs. But to your point, it's hard to beat, I guess, hard to beat teams multiple times, or at least a third time. So maybe we got that working for us.
But you have so much familiarity already with McVay and KOC, and not to beat a dead horse like we did earlier in the season. That's, I find, more interesting of a chess match than that of what the Lions game will be, in my opinion.
It'll be good. I honestly have no idea what to expect. I know that rookie edge they have, Jared Verse, really ate our lunch. That's actually the game that Christian Darrisaw got injured in too. So how Verse is going to do against a worse backup. I shouldn't even call him a backup, but Cam Robinson, who is the replacement, not as good as Christian Darrisaw. That worries me a little bit. The amount of pressure that the Lions were able to get with guys that are basically just yanking off the street, which is another theme I keep seeing in Vikings games. It's like, guys, teams will just rush 4 on the Vikings and get pressure on Sam Darnold. And then we're rushing like 5 guys every time, and we can't get to the, I feel like we're not getting to the quarterback nearly as easily. And I'm just like, is that speaking to the quality of our guys? Is that just a quality guy thing? But it's like, the Lions are picking these guys off the street, so how are they able to get it done?
Well, that's where I'm getting curious now. I haven't dug into the tape. Maybe we can do some a little bit this offseason, but we talked a lot about this in the beginning. I mentioned it a lot in the beginning of the year. This seems to be, if a quarterback's good, they're going to know how to pick up this exotic blitz scheme. So is it only for, the regular season? We'll see how, again, you got Matt Stafford, who could be a top 5 quarterback when he's healthy and on. And then you got Goff, who's seen it twice already this year. So it's going to be interesting to see what type of different wrinkles Flores can bring there. Because you do have, it's not similar to the Lions, but your scheme is elevating the play of your talent as opposed to the other way around. So if it gets figured out, it gets figured out. And that could be, one of the things we were talking about earlier. It could be the bigger issue.
Yeah, it could be curtains on the Viking season. And one of the things that Goff does really well is when he sees that blitzer coming in, he just throws it at where the blitzer's coming from because he knows that spot's been vacated. So I don't know if Brian Flores is smarter than me, then maybe you come up with some way to disguise a guy that covers for that gap that the rusher is coming from.
Sure.
Just knowing that Jared Goff because it's like automatic for him. It's like he just sees the rusher coming, he throws it behind the rusher's head. It's like, yeah, maybe just cover that up. Even if you're leaving a big gap somewhere else, like me as an amateur is thinking, hey, maybe let's just protect where that blitzer's coming from, or what do you call it? Put a robber. Is that a robber? Where you have a guy
a robber.
Yeah, maybe
that's
put a
where
robber.
Gango got his 2 pick sixes. He's supposed to be coming. He's not supposed to be there. And then he pops back at the last second. He's designed to spy. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see. Maybe Brian Flores is keeping his bag of tricks closed until the playoffs. I would hope so. I hope we see some better performance in the playoffs, but we'll just have to wait and see.
One thing we talked about too was one of the announcers brought up the conversation that they had with Flores. Was that week 13, 14, 15, maybe? Is that they want to run all these blitzes with man coverage, but you can't do that all year long. It's not sustainable. These guys will get hurt and tired. So you got to just know that you have it, but you got to mix in the zones more than you like. So maybe that's something that playoff time, no holds barred. We're going man to man, mano a mano, baby. Let's go.
Interesting. Well, I guess I didn't know that. So you're saying man coverage leads to more injuries?
If you get injured,
overtime?
You're less. No. Sorry, I don't think I phrased it right. I don't actually. That'd be interesting to find out. But no, what I meant by that was if you're injured, your lesser players are less likely to be trusted in man coverage, so you're not going to run it as well.
Yeah.
Because remember, we had that late season injury bug with every corner on the Vikings was out for a couple of weeks at some point.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what I was trying to say. I'm sorry for misphrasing.
Got it. No, all good. Yeah, we'll see. It should be, like you said, should be an interesting matchup and chess match between O'Connell and his former sensei, Sean McVay. Yeah.
So, all right, I don't know exactly how I want to act. I know what the theme I'm going for the answer of this from you, but I don't know exactly how to ask it. So work with me on this one.
Yeah.
You're watching the game. Obviously, a win's a win. You'll take a win however you can get it. But what's one thing you want to see that's going to make you feel good about that you're going to win this game? And I'll preface it this way. a lot of the season we talked about the defense carried the offense. Then towards the end of the season, it was all right. Sam Darnold figured it out. We just talked about how Darnold kind of sucked and there was not really much of a run game. Like, are you thinking Darnold's got to click, you got to run, good team win, defense has got to hold you? You can only pick one. You can't say all of them. Like, what's the thing
Darnold.
that's really going to make you feel good? Okay,
Darnold throws for 300 yards. Yep. That's what I want.
Okay. So at 300 yards is an interesting mark because he's done that a lot and the games were kind of shaky. So I think that's going to be a pretty effective game because I don't expect this game to be, 30-25. I think it's going to be more of a low 20s match. It's just because they know each other well enough and it's going to have to be efficient football as opposed to explosive football.
Yeah.
The one thing I can't remember, though, let's see if I can find it while we're talking. I just popped into my head. As I'm talking about explosive football, I don't think both Cup and Nakua were healthy first time they played. Do you recall by any chance?
Nakua, it was his first week back. Cup, yeah, I don't think, he was
out.
I think he was out. But yeah, because Nakua torched us for like definitely over 100. Might have been $150.
Oh, nope, I'm wrong. So, no, everybody was there. Kyron Williams had 23 attempts for 97 yards. Nakua, 7 for 106. Cup did play 5 catches, 51 and a touch. Demarcus Robinson, 2 for 35 and 2 touchdowns. Kyron Williams also caught a touchdown. So, yeah, everybody had a day that day. Wow. Okay, never mind. That's going to be interesting.
Yep.
Yeah, and looking at the adverse side, so it was a 30-20 loss for Minnesota against the Rams. Darnold threw for 18-25, 240 and 2 touchdowns. Now, this is only his 5th or 6th game in the system, but he did throw a 128.8 for a passer rating. Pretty much no run game. Aaron Jones had 58 yards. Darnold had 6. And only JJ caught the ball. I mean, 8 catches for 115. The next was 2 catches for 37 on down. So, yeah, very interesting to see how this one's going to go.
Yeah. Just knowing the Vikings, I'm giving the edge to the Rams. Home territory, they're big market team. I just,
Monday night game.
It's just a lot of things are lining up to screw over small market Vikings for one reason or another.
So Vegas right now, and we're recording this on the 6th of January, has a over under of 47 points for the game. So that's closer to what I was saying, 23-20-ish. But the line's a push right now. So I agree with you that the Rams have a little favorability here. Minnesota's got the emotional side of things. And I think that would favor the Rams just up a point or two. But yeah, no, Vegas has a solid push right now. One day, pretty much 24 hours after the loss to Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like we're getting bounced at some point in these playoffs. Like, we were playing with house money up until this point, so it's like things got to come back to reality. And I think we saw the beginning of that last night. So I at least at the very least, it's dashed my hopes. The alternative to last night is we win, we get that first round bye. I'm like, heck yes, this is our year. And then we'll lose that first round, or I guess the first game that we play is the alternative scenario. Just, because the Vikings will inevitably let us down this year. It's just a matter of a couple weeks. They let us down week 18 versus second round of the playoffs. So we'll see. Or they'll win their game against the Rams and get blown out by the Lions again, or who knows. But at least hopes have been dashed going into what could be our final game. So expectations are just rock bottom right now.
That really sounds like a Vikings fan.
Yeah,
like I've ever heard one.
Yeah. We're
so let me take you a little bit out of misery and let's go a little bit more just viewership, fan of football more so than Minnesota specifically. So you guys have the last game of the weekend slate, which is Monday night. There's 2 games Saturday, 3 games Sunday. Houston hosts LA Chargers Saturday, Pittsburgh at Baltimore.
Man,
Saturday
Houston
night.
snuck into the playoffs, huh?
Well, their division's absolute trash with Indy, Tennessee, and the Colts. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That'll do it.
That'll do it. And that's the other conversation of like, so right now it seems Jags, Patriots, and Bears are the only 3 that put their name in to interview Johnson right now. It's like, well, if I understand the Jags suck, and they kept their GM, which is a negative point in my view.
Yeah.
Trent Baalke, but wouldn't you want to go to the worst division in football and like want to run that for a bit? Don't you think?
There's some
Anyway,
allure there.
so Saturday games look eh. Sunday, the noon games, Denver at Buffalo, 3:30 is Green Bay at Philly, and then the night game Sunday is Washington at Tampa. Any of these 5 other games catching your attention?
Run down that list again.
Saturday, Chargers at Houston, Pittsburgh at Baltimore. Sunday, Denver at Buffalo, Green Bay at Philly, Washington at Tampa.
I think Denver at Buffalo could be a spicy one. If Bo
Okay.
Nix has one of his days and Josh Allen is off, that could be a spicy one. I think Pittsburgh at Baltimore could be a spicy one because Mike Tomlin seems to have Lamar Jackson's number, and Lord knows Lamar Jackson historically has been very bad in the playoffs.
And against Pittsburgh, separately,
against-
not in the playoffs, but
Yeah.
they know how to contain him.
So those sound like two spicy matchups.
For sure. I'm
then
looking
what-
forward to watching the Green Bay Philly game. Not like I'll have these all on in the background while I'm putzing around. Actually, no, we're gonna be ice fishing and cabin weekend, and I'll probably be in a drunken stupor watching on a camera about this big.
There you go.
Screen about that big. But anyway, I just want to see Green Bay get their ass kicked.
Oh, me too.
That's going to be the most satisfying part of this weekend. Because really, until we start talking about, I want to watch the Lions game, whoever they play. I want to watch Kansas City because, like, for the adverse reason, Lions are probably going to kick the shit out of whoever they play, and Kansas City is going to be some like 1917 drama bullshit, 5 different calls that didn't get made by the refs, and then like, oh, he does it again, it's a miracle, and then too much.
I'm so tired of the Chiefs. Oh my god.
Well, that's why I still want to watch because I honestly, so when this was happening with the Patriots, I leaned into it. Like they keep winning, learn how to stop them.
Yeah.
This feels different, and I'm not sure I'm gonna stay with the winning like like the same mantra I had last time, just because it just doesn't feel the same, you know?
Yeah, the Chiefs definitely give off the energy of like someone sold their soul to the devil.
Yeah.
It's just weird black magic how they keep winning and keep being successful. They've just been so bad this year. It's something, dude. So yes, I will be preying on the Chiefs' downfall. I've officially grown tired of Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and their shenanigans with Taylor Swift.
Fair enough. So where are you at? So we have what? 14 teams now at the beginning of the playoffs. Other than the Vikings, who do you want to see play well or advance to the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl? What are you thinking about right now?
Yeah, I'd say the Bills. For if you don't know, the Bills are like the AFC version of the Vikings. You know, been to the Super Bowl a bunch of times, never won it. So you know, I'll be in small, you know, kind of a small market team. So I'll be pulling for them. I'm a fan of Josh Allen. I like how he plays. So I think the Bills are really the only non-Vikings team I'm pulling for. As much as it pains me to say this, the Eagles, you know, in the first round, I hope they you know, send the Packers home sad. But outside of that, yeah, mostly just the Bills. If I had to pick one other team, maybe whoever's playing the Lions. I think I've officially like gone from cheering for the Lions to no longer cheering for them.
Yeah, Minnesota not so nice, huh?
Yeah. Well, you know what? They've just gotten too cocky. It's like, okay, you know what? Yeah, you had one good season, and it was one win better than the Vikings dicking around in a rebuilding year with Sam Darnold. So,
right,
cool it off, Detroit. Yeah. How about you? You got anyone you're rooting for?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you who I'm not rooting for. I'm not rooting for Kansas City. Pittsburgh is like, I can't believe we have to watch that because that's going to be so brutal to watch.
Yeah.
I'm overhearing about Baltimore. I'm not rooting for Philly other than against the Packers. I really like. I can't listen to another Jaden Daniels thing this year. I'm Jaden Daniels out.
That makes sense.
2 teams though. I am interested to see, and this is not from a player standpoint, from a coaching standpoint, like just to really nail home the points of the Bears that fuck you, you fucked up, and fuck you, coaching really matters. And by that I mean Denver with Sean Payton. and the
Mm.
Chargers with Jim Harbaugh. They didn't even call John Harbaugh, and this could have been them because they're honestly, objectively, their talent on the roster was better going into the offseason. They
Yeah.
stripped down. They got rid of two of their best players, two of their highest paid players, all three of the receivers. They're all gone. And, White Boy McConkey's got over 1,000 yards in his first season. They're in the playoffs, top defense in the league. Denver, too. Sean Payton, great coach, rookie quarterback, less talent. They have a no-name defense, tops in the league as well. So 10-7, 11-6. Coaching really matters. Don't get this wrong, Bears.
Yeah.
So
Heard.
those two teams.
Cool. Yeah, hopefully they give us some good football to watch. Hopefully you get good reception wherever you'll be ice fishing.
Northern Wisconsin, sort of. So yeah, it'll be fun.
Okay, good.
We'll make sure we take a break. We got the night game. What's the night game? Well, Pittsburgh, Baltimore. We'll be at the bar, so they'll have something there.
Nice.
I'm also glad. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, were you when you said a small screen to watch on? Were you talking about your phone, or do they have one of those tiny TVs with the rabbit ears on them for their ice house?
We used to the TV. It'd probably just be my phone, to be honest with you.
Nice.
So the one thing I'm excited about, because it's in Wisconsin, like I'm glad the last couple of years it's been Packers Niners while we're at the bar that Saturday night or Sunday night, which is hilarious. So I won't have that this year.
Shoot.
Because the Niners have been winning those matchups for consecutively.
Like a decade at least, yeah.
Oh, it's been so great because I'm the only one. Well, my wife and I are the only ones who are like, hey.
Oh, sure.
The thing that does suck is we get the shit back, and when the Packers do well, they come around. It's not just a special; they come around and like hand out shots and hand out hot dogs, and they just give away free stuff. It's like, oh, all right, cool. So we won't have that experience this year, but I'm okay with that. I don't need the calories.
There you go. Well, who knows? Maybe the Packers get lucky, and then you get to watch them get taken down by a different team on that evening.
That'd be nice.
Yeah. Well, no, not exactly any fantasy news, but by a stroke of luck, which took a little bit of the burn out of the Vikings loss, I did win a second week in a row in my Pick'em League to close out the year.
Go.
I'm cashing in there.
How is that going? Week 18 is the craziest week with Sitsum, and half these guys didn't play, and who knows?
Dude, honestly, I just looked at the lines. And some of and the other thing I tracked was like which quarterbacks are starting, and I basically was just like picking quarterbacks because trying to think about some like one of the ones where I zigged where everyone zagged. Like I picked the Patriots over the Bills. So I'm like
Joe Milton. It wasn't even Drake May. Joe Milton.
Yeah, well, yeah. So it's just dumb luck because I thought Drake May would. I was like, he's just gonna go play for his pride, play loose. Bills got nothing to play for. I don't even know who the Bills quarterback was. Like, do you?
Mitch Trubisky.
Oh, Trubisky. Oh, wow. If I would have known that, I probably would have picked the Bills. But I was like, yeah, Drake May versus a backup.
You should not have done that. But yeah, I think Mayo had a little bit of FU in him too to like just go accidentally win that game because we saw Antonio Pierce do that with the Raiders. We saw Dable do that with the Giants the week prior. So some wild stuff.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, a lot of those money lines. I mean, the spread for the Baltimore game, like it was like Baltimore minus 20 points, something insane. Like I've never seen.
So nobody played.
Yeah, jeez. I guess not. It was that was an easy one to pick, but even though I picked my Vikings, I couldn't spoil it because I had two whole picks ahead of the next person, so I got to enjoy that at least.
Congrats on the huge win, man!
Thank you.
Date night. Or do something fun for the playoffs.
Well, yeah, I was hoping that maybe we'd get because I knew I had it locked up after the Jets won their game. I was like, holy shit, like I just locked up this. It doesn't even matter what happens in this last game, which is pretty rare. Right. Like a 42-person pick'em league. It's rare that the leader has a 2-point advantage, but I was hoping, I was like, maybe I'll spend it on some playoff tickets at US Bank. Doesn't look like that's. In fact, I think that is an impossibility at this point, unless I guess one of the other. Unless
the lower seeds would have to win. So
yeah.
Commanders and Packers would have to win, which is not what I'd call
not likely,
but it is possible. One last thing before we get into it. So talk about the Lions. What I thought was interesting. So we talked about Vikings Rams at Rams is a push. That's Monday night. We'll see if these move at all. First game, Chargers, Houston. Chargers by 3. They're the away team. Interesting. Chargers -3. Pittsburgh, Baltimore. Baltimore's the home team. Baltimore -10 Saturday night.
Wow.
Sunday noon. Buffalo 9.5 at Buffalo. 3:30 game. Philly at home. Philly 4.5. Sunday night game. Tampa -3 at home. So the Chargers are the only road team favored, with the exception of Minnesota being a push. So that's wild cards. I mean, usually this is the most predictable one, but I'm excited to see just kind of what crazy highlights we're going to be talking about on Tuesday.
You know, there's got to be at least one upset, so hopefully it's not the Packers.
Amen to that, dude. Well, This is crazy to me. Like, Week 18 is officially over. Like, the regular season is over. 2024 is over. Bears have been over, I think, for about 10 weeks now, it feels like. We've been mourning that for a while. But, like, how quickly a season goes. And we're a month from now, the Super Bowl will be played on, like, the 9th or the 10th of February. Then we have a month till free agency, 2 months to the draft, and then it's another 3 months of nothing till the next season. So it's like 6 months of just
crickets. Sad times.
Dude. Well,
gotta enjoy it while it's here.
Find something else to do.
Yeah.
Amen to that, dude.
Yeah. Well, I think we covered a lot of ground for a Week 18 podcast. Any other thoughts you'd like to express here, Jason? Are we missing anything?
No, I will check in a couple of weeks when we actually have anything about the Bears to talk about. Otherwise, we're going to be talking good old-fashioned football, playoff football, baby. I mean, I know we just got a little sad as we got soft at the end there, but playoff football is what we've waited all year for.
That's right. We'll have some good stuff to talk about, hopefully some good football to dissect, and hopefully more Vikings games ahead of us, and not just one more.
So,
hopefully. All right, Will and Jason, Run the North. You know what it is. Later.